How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Before I Forget. This is my video channel inspired by my Instagram channel, 1985 Road Dog. On that Instagram channel, you'll find all my memories and moments in music as a fan and somebody that worked in the business. That's a lot of my photos. There's so many I have, but this is just a sampling of my life in music. And this video channel documents it further. Story behind the photo is the concept. Right now, we're going to do some more Motley Crue because the Motley Crue people are like relentless. But this will be Motley Crue Party Tales Volume 5. Theater of Pain Tour, August 1985. Last we saw Motley Crue was in New Haven on the Theater of Pain Tour. That was early August of 1985. We had gone up to the show with myself and Bruno Ravel had gone up to the show with Eddie Ojeda from Twisted Sister and his bodyguard Vic. I documented that whole story in the last Motley Crue episode, Volume 4. So now Motley Crue are playing Madison Square Garden, headlining the Garden for the first time, which is a big deal. And by this time, Home Sweet Home, I don't think had been released as a single yet. It was still Smoking in the Boys' Room. So Home Sweet Home was an album track. They played it live, but it wasn't like a single. It wasn't a video because the tour just started in August. It was like the beginning of the tour. I think the album came out in maybe June of 85. So this is August 85. We had a crazy time with them up in New Haven. And here we are now at the Garden. There were so many people at this show. Everybody was there, numerous people. We didn't really have any backstage thing going on. It was, this is probably a week or two after the New Haven show. And it was the Garden, so there was a lot going on. It's New York, it's a big media city, so there's record company stuff and interviews and MTV, and there's just so much going on. We went to the show, but we didn't, there was no backstage thing because right after the show, there was a big party at a loft close to Madison Square Garden, like an after party, official after party for Theater of Pain. So, big record company involvement, all the industry people were there, every photographer, that was anybody was there taking pictures. There's been lots of pictures from that night all over the place. The Theater of Pain album artwork is everywhere, and there's all these pain devices. There was a noose, and there was a guillotine, and all these torture devices. So all this stuff was spread throughout this loft. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. But that was the party after the show. So there was no backstage thing. The show itself, which I talked about in my last Theater of Pain video, Motley video, was, the show was much more arena rock, much more Vegas kind of a vibe, showy sing-alongs. They had a lot of time to fill on the stage, hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes, whatever they played. So they were, stretching things out. It was definitely a different Motley Crue, but the fans were still there, rabid. I think the Garden was sold out. It was, I can't remember who opened. It was either Y&T or Loudness, one of those two. I can't remember who the opening band was, but it was sold out, and it was a big deal. It was Madison Square Garden, New York City. So all my friends were at the show. It was just, everybody was there, and everybody wanted to get into this after party. So Elektra Records put this party together. And they had these laminated tickets, like a theater ticket or a concert ticket. You admit one to the Motley Crue Theater of Pain. It was a laminated thing with like a clip, like a pass. So you had to have one of those to get into the show. To get into the party. So it wasn't that easy to get in. And it was in this loft after the show. Yeah, I don't know, a couple blocks, 2, 3 blocks from Madison Square Garden, this big, huge loft, just an open space pretty much, with no air conditioning. And it was August. And it was so hot. I mean, it had to be 100 degrees in there. I mean, the walls were sweating. That's how hot it was. If you've ever been in New York City in the summertime, you know what I'm talking about. Hot, the concrete is on fire, you can't escape the humidity and the heat. It's brutal when it's like that. And that's how it was in this loft with no air conditioning. Just a bunch of fans. You know, and that's what was going on. So everybody wanted to get into this party. As all Motley shows, we're all partying. Everybody's drinking and bumping up, and everybody's partying and getting crazy all through the concert, before the concert. I mean, we met somewhere at a bar, of course, and then we went to the show. I had gotten free tickets, and I got a backstage pass for this show. I remember that from Elektra Records, from my buddy at Elektra, but there was no real backstage anything. It was like, as soon as the show was over, they showered up and headed over to this party. So, you know, you walk outside from the concert into the open air out in the street on 7th Avenue, and it's just like so muggy and humid and dank and heavy, and you can't even breathe. The air is so thick and smelly. It's just New York City, man, in the summer. This is 1985, when pre-Disney Times Square. In other words, you know, early mid-90s is when New York City became the safe, clean New York City, and Disney moved into Times Square. This is prior to that, so New York is still scuzzy and dirty and smelly, which is true in New York City. So anyway, we get to this party, and, you know, I've got a pass, of course, a ticket to the party. I got so many people into this party. I must have gotten like 10 or 12 people into this party, whatever way, using my pass, borrowing somebody's pass, begging for a pass, other passes for people. It was nuts. My brother was there, and, you know, Kelly Nichols was there, and Bruno Ravel was there, Mike Pont was there, Richie Rano from Stars was there. I don't know if I got Richie in or not. He actually had a ticket, like a pass, so I don't know. He might have got that from somebody else. JJ French from Twisted Sister was there. Eddie from Twisted Sister was there. I mean, everybody was there. A lot of media. They were taking a lot of photos. And it's so hot. And I mean, you know, you're just dripping in sweat. And they had like a buffet set up. Like, who wants to eat that? Especially gacked out. Yeah, but still, it's just like a sweaty baked ziti in trays. It's like, ugh, you know. And they had a bar. They had an open bar, of course, but it was so hot. And they had these giant fans blowing air. So anyway, so the band, we were in there. The band gets there and, you know, take a bunch of pictures with Tommy. The guys were, of course, busy with media, and there was, you know, it's like there had to be in this loft, I don't know, a couple hundred people in sweltering heat. And the band walks in like overcoats, you know, chaps on over jeans, you know, jackets. I'm like, how can they stand it? It's so friggin' hot. They were rock stars. That's what they did, man. They wore that stuff whether they were sweating or not. So anyway, we hook up with Tommy, and we're just, you know, bumping up, but, you know, the powder's starting to melt because it's so hot and humid. And it's just, no matter where you put it in your pants and your side, it didn't matter. It was just starting to melt, and it became like paste. So I'm like, oh no, this is no good. So, you know, Fred Saunders was immediately on hey, what's going on? I'm like, well, the stuff's melting. It's, you know, he's like, I got you. So they have limousines downstairs. The loft was probably, I don't know, on the 3rd or 4th floor of this building. So the limousines are downstairs in the street, running, idling with the air conditioning on. So Fred says, come on, we're going to go down to the limousine. So we go down to the limo. Tommy comes down. I don't know. Tommy was with somebody. There's maybe 4 or 5 people. We go to the limo, and it's cold in there, man. So, put the stuff on the AC vent, and things start like leveling out. So we stayed down there for like, I don't know, 15 minutes, and then went back in, came out with Nikki, went back up. I mean, we were back and forth to the limousine all night because it was cold and cool in there, and it was okay to just kind of like leave your bag in there. Crazy night. That night was, it was just so crowded, and I think the guys got gold or platinum albums that night. I can't remember which one, but they got their albums. Doc McGee, they're taking pictures. It was a party to be at if you were into rock and roll and rock bands and Motley Crue. If you were into that scene, this party was a big party. And it was legendary because I see those pictures online all the time from that party. I have a bunch posted on my Instagram. So we just did that back and forth to the limousine all night with Tommy, and we ended up back at his hotel room. I think they were staying at the Parker Meridian Hotel. So we went back over to his hotel room. I don't know, 5, 6 of us. I know Bruno and my brother were there. Partying over there till sunrise. And when I left there, I forgot my wallet in Tommy's room. And he wasn't answering the phone, and he was probably crashed out. So I left a note with the front desk. And the next day, or later on that day, they must have gotten him the note because I got a call, and then he had taken my wallet and put it in like an envelope and left it at the front desk for me. And he wrote on the envelope, Mighty Mouse, but he spelled mighty wrong. I was like, that was funny. And that was like, that was really the last time we went crazy, or I went crazy and partied with Motley. I mean, I saw them again, real briefly on the next tour, which was Girls, Girls, Girls. But by that time, I had been working for Relativity Records all through 1987. And then at the end of 87, I went to work for LA Guns as a road manager. So I kind of like lost touch with the Motley guys. And then, by the end of 87, I was living in LA working for LA Guns, and Motley Crue had been on tour with the Girls, Girls, Girls tour. But what's funny is, which, some people know this story, but at the end of my tenure with LA Guns, I was rooming with Kelly Nichols at the Franklin Plaza Suites in Hollywood up on Highland. And he was on the sly seeing Cherise Neal, Vince Neal's wife, on the sly. So, sneaking in and out of the hotel, out of the suites every night, it was very stressful for me. Part of the stress that contributed to my breaking down and losing my mind and leaving LA Guns was this whole period at the Franklin Plaza Suites. So, eventually, it stopped, or Vince found out about it, or whatever happened. So LA Guns were, I think on Cocked and Loaded tour, or about to start the Cocked and Loaded tour. Or it could have been later in 88, toward the end of 88, maybe. In there somewhere, end of 88 into 89, I'm not really sure, but they were offered, or their name was put forth as a support band on the Motley Crue tour. Had to be Girls, Girls, Girls. And, Vince Neal immediately squashed that. And the talk was Vince squashed some other stuff for LA Guns. I mean, Motley Crue were a big, powerful band at the time, and LA Guns were, first album just coming up. And that little incident with Cherise and Kelly Nichols, Vince squashed some stuff, tours, whatever. So, you know, it was, all that was part of my whole losing my mind with LA Guns. That was toward the end of my tenure, that whole thing. But that's probably the last time I saw, last time I definitely partied with Motley, and I might have seen him again later on, but they got really big, and, you know, it just became a whole different scene. My life was going other places, and you just, you know, nothing lasts forever, you know. It was a moment in time. Shout at the Devil, Theater of Pain. We were knee deep in Motley Crue party mania. But, you know, I mean, that can't go on forever either. I mean, that's 85. That's August 85 we're talking about right now. You know, 86 was a crazy year for me. Let's leave it at that. And by 87, beginning of 87, I was working at Relativity Records again, which led to working for LA Guns and on and on and on. So that's really my Motley story. You know, it was not as super crazy as the other ones, but it was a good one. Again, that party was a legendary Motley Crue party. You can see those pictures all over the place on the internet. Once again, I sit down and film these one shot. I just sit down, record. I don't edit. So it is what it is. And again, thank you so much for tuning in and watching and giving a shit. And 1985 Road Dog. And we'll speak to you soon. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.